Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you are joining from near or far, we are thrilled to have you here for this exciting presentation. My name is Deb, and I'm your host. And we have a truly engaging and insightful presentation lined up for you. And we are confident you will find the information shared today really valuable. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you can revisit the content at any time. It will be uploaded on our ATSRI YouTube channel in due time. Before we dive in, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items to ensure that you have the best possible experience today. First, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to use the chat feature. Our team will be monitoring it and we'll do our best to address your inquiries. If time permits, we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end. So stay tuned for that. And we encourage you to actively participate. If something resonates with you, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the chat. Now, let's talk about what you can expect today. Today, we are honored to have Drs. Tran and Adams Progar. Dr. Tran is the Director of Pre-Award Services, and Dr. Adams Progar is the Associate Director of Sponsored Research and Program Development. They are here to discuss funding opportunities and partnerships with the sponsored programs. By the way, they're both trained scientists with heaps of experience dealing with federal, state, and foundation grants. We are certain their insights will help you gain a deeper understanding of opportunities and services provided by SB. So we are excited to get started, and without delay, let's jump in. Dr. Tran, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Amber's going to just talk a little bit about we're experimenting with interactive features in the presentation using Mentimeter. I'm sure some of you have used it before, and Amber's going to explain how to connect.
Yes. So if everyone could please pull out that phone. I know you have it on you. So pull that phone out. You might be looking at email. Get out of that email. Pull up this QR code right now. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. I need you to pull up this QR code, please. So what we're going to do is we need to make research exciting. So one way we thought we might do that to get everyone really into this, today's presentation is to use Mentimeter, like Dr. Tran said. So if you could click on that, get that QR code up. If you're having problems with the QR code, you can also go to menti.com. There's a code there that you can enter to get going. It'll ask you to kind of choose an avatar. And this is one of the important parts. Although we extremely value your interaction, which is the main thing, we have really cool ATSRI swag to give away at the end. And in order to be part of that drawing, we actually need you to put your actual name. So I know sometimes it creates some funny ones like Kiwi Tom or something. We don't want any Kiwi Toms. We want your actual name so that we know who the winner of that drawing will be. So if you could do that for us, please. I think I've talked enough that hopefully you had enough time to get that QR code or go to menti.com. If anyone's having issues, maybe throw us a line in the chat. But otherwise, I think you're going to have a much more enjoyable experience if you are hanging there with us, answering questions and getting into the swing of it. So Lucy, I think I gave them some pretty good ground rules on how to engage with us. Do you want to go ahead and lead us up into, getting us started on the program today?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Progar. So let's get started. Trying to advance the slide. Okay, so today, Dr. Progar and I are here to talk with you about our department sponsored programs, and also a little bit about what we do, so you just get to know us. So I think I've met most of you, but for those who don't know who I am, or just as a reminder, I'm Lucy Tran. I'm Director of the pre-award services team in sponsored programs. I've been at ATSU since 2019 with a 1-year gap. And I've been, working with faculty on like a variety of different projects across the university. I'm really excited to talk with you today about what we do and how we can help you. And I'll let Amber introduce herself a little bit as well.
Thank you, Dr. Tran. So I am Amber Adams Progar. I have a PhD in animal science and I have background in physiology, biology. I spent before I came to ATSU, last 10 years as associate professor at Washington State University, engaged in teaching and research. And I am pleased to say I had just crossed over that first full year at ATSU. Super excited to be here. As you might be able to tell, very enthusiastic about research and hoping that we can share with you today what sponsored programs can do for you. Dr. Tran, I noticed in the chat here that we've got some people struggling. It seems like maybe they can't choose an avatar when I pull up Mentimeter. I don't know if it allows everyone to at least put their name in there, because all we really need, you know what, if you got to be Kiwi Tom, be Kiwi Tom if you need to be. We can always ask, who is Kiwi Tom at the end. But yeah, please keep sharing any struggles you might be having. We're not quite to the point where we have any questions yet, but obviously we want to get things resolved before we get there.
I did forget to talk a little bit about my background prior to ATSU. So I also have my PhD. My specialty was in evolutionary history, evolutionary biology, um, uh, evolutionary at the intersection of ecology and evolutionary biology. So if anyone has an interest in that, come talk to me. I'm always happy to talk about evolution and evolutionary theory. So moving on. So like, what does sponsored programs do? That's like one of the first questions that we usually have people coming to us about. We sort of deal with grants, but what is our mission? Well, we're driven to advance ATSU's mission, strategic directions, and priority areas. And we do this by helping faculty and administrators at ATSU secure external funding. So external funding is any funding that comes from a non-ATSU source. So that can be federal, from a state agency, or from private institutions. Okay, so this is like what motivates our work with faculty and administrators at the university. Like I said, we do have a primary audience and a secondary audience. And our primary audience is comprised of full-time faculty and deans and other school college leaders at ATSU. Our secondary audience includes everyone else who's in administration, full-time staff, students, residents, and interns. So the only thing that, if you're actively involved in training students, students and residents and interns must be sponsored by a faculty member, a full-time faculty member, in order to submit grant applications at ATSU. Okay. And I'll pass this on to Amber to talk about grant funding at ATSU.
Yes, thank you, Lucy. So a lot of people might be thinking, what kind of funding could I get, right? As far as, can I work with sponsored programs what kind of funding could I actually try to secure to try to move my research or, teaching program forward? And so, first of all, I think it's important to know that, gosh, in these days, right, there's no grant too big, obviously, or too small, though. So we are here to help regardless of how size that funding is that you're looking for. And along with that, we support not just federal grant opportunities or grant applications, but anything from foundations, the state level, all of those, we're here to help. So just want to reiterate, right? No grant too big, too small. We're here to help. And honestly, I like to go with that phrase of let's go get that money, right? So if it's, $1,000 or if it's $1 million, let's go for it. With that being said, you might be thinking, okay, we've got these folks here at sponsored programs that can help us get funding. But what does that look like? What does that funding landscape look like for ATSU? And so I really like this slide because it kind of shows you, first of all, this is updated for fiscal year 25. And so we're looking at about, of all of our grant support, about 65% of that is coming in from federal opportunities. So if you're wondering, how is ATSU getting these funds? 65%. And then we obviously have, state of funding. We have foundations that come in about 11%. And we also have internal opportunities that I hope you're aware of as well that can help you at least, get your foot in the door and get going. With that being said, I just want to say there's a number there. It's a little over $5 million. Am I reading that correctly? $5 million, right? In external grants over about 22 projects. So that's pretty impressive. And that goes all to the hard work of researchers, faculty, and obviously sponsored programs trying to pull it off. Okay. So on this next slide, okay, this is where it looks like we're being interactive. Things are happening. All right. Because the question is, where do you get your information about grants? And, I briefly saw there things like NIH. I don't know if anyone else has other ones they throw up there, but now's your chance to answer that first question if you hadn't, and let us know. Sponsor programs newsletter, AT website, sponsor programs. All right, we like that answer, right? So these are all really good opportunities. This is good for us to know because we're curious, right? Like we want to know where do you get your information? But maybe if everyone's responded in that second question we have coming up, this is where you get your information. But where do you wish you could get information about grants? Is there something that you just wish you could get? I saw programs really big there for a second. So that tells me that maybe that was state and national associations. And, I think as far as where you wish you could get information, I wonder, you know, there's obviously we're always trying to find ways because we have experience and we want to help, right? We want to help you get that funding, but by you answering these questions and helping us out, that can help us figure out what we can maybe do differently to try to help you get that information. But I don't know. Lucia, I'm thinking about, email. So that's one that pops up. We're gonna be able to look at these responses later too, right? And try to figure out if there's anything that we can incorporate into changing how we, operate and how we share information. I don't know if you want to say anything more on this slide, but I do know that the upcoming slide, you have a lot to say about some of the different funding opportunities that we've seen come through the door.
Yeah. And so we have a couple of different approaches or strategies for getting information about funding opportunities to the university at large. We'll be talking a little bit more about one of those strategies. It's like our what we call like a funding opportunity recommendation form, where we evaluate the funding opportunity specifically for ATSU, as well as a specific faculty member and project. And there's a lot of good ideas here. Social media, I don't think SP has a social media presence. I'm not a social media person necessarily, so I think that's something we could possibly work with CNM. Email and seeing, so I think more frequent emails is something that we've considered. And those are definitely good ideas. So we'll look at the responses. So even if you don't get your ideas like entered into Mentimeter like right now, please keep entering them. We can access the results following the presentation. And if you don't want to bother with Mentimeter, please go ahead and send your ideas directly to pre-award or to Amber or I individually, and we'll get those. We'll look at those. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So sponsored programs does support like all 7 schools, colleges at ATSU, as well as all programs. So we have a pretty big roster of funders and funding opportunities that reoccur every year that we monitor for faculty and administrators. So we look at these, we have, a database that we use to monitor. And when we see when a grant program is, like going to be really announced or open, we try to evaluate those for faculty and projects that we're aware of. But those funders span the range of disciplines from medicine, the AOA, ACOM, AMA, to dental, CareQuest, Delta Dental of Missouri, and the Delta Dental of Arizona Foundation. ATSU have been pretty successful at getting grants from those organizations. We also have discipline-specific funders like the ASH Foundation, NATA, and the Foundation for Physical Therapy Research. So this is just a selection, like a small selection of the funders that are on our radar. We ask that, if you encounter any funding opportunities or funders that you're interested in, just feel free to always email us at pre-award, and we can look more closely into those for you. Okay, so we encourage faculty, everyone at the university who's interested in applying to external grant to come to us, not only because of the required university processes, but also because sponsored programs has a demonstrated track record of helping faculty and administrators to obtain competitive external funding. So here, you can see that our grant success rate, so out of the number of applications, external applications are submitted by faculty at ATSU, 61 to 75% of those are awarded each year. And that this is our range for fiscal years 21 to 25, so in the last 5 fiscal years. When you look at that and compare it to the industry, industry-wide rate of 10 to 30%, that's a pretty big achievement, right? For ATSU faculty. And that speaks to our work with ATSU faculty. I think you'll be hard pressed to see that level of those numbers anywhere else. So this slide just shows you. We wanted to show you just a few facts out of the 20. So in fiscal year 25, 22 external awards were secured by ATSU faculty and administrators, totaling over $5 million. So $5 million, like Amber said, that's quite a bit of money. For the last fiscal year, our external approval rate was 65%, still pretty good. Sponsored programs supported 34 external grant applications, including 30 sub-awards. So those awards were where ATSU faculty and administrators partnered with other institutions. Okay. And then two other numbers I wanted to highlight from this is that in fiscal year 25, sponsor programs managed 56 grant projects. And of those, 13 were projects awarded by HRSA, CDC, or NIH. So the big federal funders. Okay, so the fun stuff. So at ATSU, sponsor programs must look at and approve all grant submissions that are submitted by faculty and administrators. This requirement is described in ATSU Policy 2119. I would encourage you to review that if you haven't yet. So institutional review of external grant applications is a requirement. And I'll pass it on to Amber to talk about some of the benefits to you for institutional review.
Thank you very much, Lucy. So, you're probably sitting here thinking, gosh, right? The hammers come down. I have to work with sponsored programs. Yeah, maybe some people are nodding their heads. Yes, I don't know, but I get it, right? I was in similar shoes as a faculty member, right, at WSU, and sometimes sponsored programs could be seen as, limiting your abilities, right? Like, oh, I have to go through these compliance reviews. I have to go through, but honestly, I could tell you this now that I'm on the other side of things. It is such an amazing opportunity that ATSU faculty have that many other faculty at other institutions don't have. And I say that because sponsored programs at ATSU is so especially attuned to helping faculty and really giving, ultimately the best customer service possible, right? We're here to help you. But really, if you look at that success rate, yeah, Lucy's right. You're going to be hard to find anyone that could beat that. So please look at it as an opportunity and not something that's a burden, right? Plus, we're really, really nice. So, but with that, how can SP support you? Right? There's the compliance stuff. We know that. There's certain things with ATSU policies, with the funder policies. Let us do some of that hard, dirty work, right? On trying to make sure that your proposal, your application meets all those standards so that the last thing you want, right? The absolute last thing you want is your application to not even be discussed or even be reviewed, right? You've put all that time in to get it to this point where you've put your heart and soul into preparing this application, and then to not even get it reviewed and have it triaged and out the door right away. We don't want that, right? We want better for you. So with that, we can also help you, really dig into making sure that what you're presenting in your application really tells the story of how what you're going to do, your project, right? Your proposed project is going to align so well with the funder that they have to fund this, right? And I don't know. I mean, we're all pretty persuasive people on SPs, so we can help you do that. Also kind of looking at the budget. Sometimes there's budget constraints that, there's fine print in some of the funders' guidelines that we've got the eyes for that. And we can say, wait, I don't know if you saw this line here, but we really need to make sure that, we don't have this in the budget because they're not going to fund that. And they're actually going to triage your application. And one of my favorite things, one of my, previous roles as well was serving on USDA and NSF grant panels as a reviewer and then as a panel manager for USDA. And the reviewer style feedback, right? What an awesome opportunity to have someone that's completely, so don't know your research, right? I don't know what you do on a day-to-day basis, but I could bring that third-party view. Lucy could bring that third-party view. Our team could bring that view and say, hey, as a third-party person, you know, this area doesn't make sense to me, or is there a different way you could explain this? Really, we're just trying to help you have that best application possible. And that's, you know, by working with us, that's how we can get that 61+%, right, of funding rate. So, all right, Lucy, I think I won them over. All right, let's bring it home on this next one here.
Yeah, so thanks, Amber, for that. You're probably thinking, is the institutional review requirement applicable to you? And we would like to emphasize that, yes, it does apply to you. It applies to everyone. All proposals that are submitted at HSU do need to undergo that institutional review, including review and approval of your grant budget and all components of your application. So there, you know, like most people, most people are very happy to, you know, go through that compliance review. But you know, sometimes, you know, like you might wonder, do I really have to go through SP? Technically, you don't. You can always submit without going through us, although we don't recommend it. But there are consequences to not having sponsor programs review your grant budget and proposal before you submit it. And those include fun things like your chain of command still needing to be notified, and they still must approve of your project and grant application. If we find any non-compliant elements in your proposal after you've submitted it, we may have to withdraw your proposal, unfortunately, or decline, worst case scenario, decline the award if we don't think that the university can meet the funder's terms and requirements. So that's one of the things that we look for in the pre-submission institutional review, whether there are any non-compliant items to prevent these, you know, pretty like negative consequences that you don't want. So as part, like we wanted to go through the review process a little bit more. What does that include? So after you work with the pre-award team to get your budget and all your application components reviewed, we complete what's called an internal approval form that basically documents your chain of commands approval of the project and submission, so that everybody is aware of, you know, your commitments in terms of time, commitments of university resources, and, you know, commitment of other HSU employees, things like that. So the internal approval form is signed by your department chair and the leads of any regulatory committees like the IRB or animal care committee, as well as the leaders of your school, particular school or program. And one of the major benefits of the internal approval form and this like documentation process is that if there's any change in your leadership, there would be documentation that you had received approval to perform your project or conduct your project. And so there won't be any issues if leadership changes after you've received grant funding. This has happened in the past, and this is a safeguard for you to have this documentation. So having said all that about like the institutional review process, you know, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. But Amber and I wanted to just walk you through the structure of sponsor programs. So sponsored programs has three different like interconnecting branches. Amber and I are on the pre-award team. There's the grants administration team, and then there's a third team, the post-award management team, and we work on different facets of the grant proposal life cycle. So here you can see like this graphic illustrates what I was talking about, the grant life cycle. It moves from the pre-award stage to the post-award stage. Pre-award, Amber and I will talk a little bit more about what each of these different phases involve and who can support those particular phases at ATSU. And our fearless leader is Michelle Malik. She is the Senior Director of Sponsored Programs. She is our boss. And she oversees all three branches of sponsored programs. Oh, okay. So this is just a slide to move into pre-award. So Amber and I are are part of the pre-award team. So what can we help you with specifically? So in terms of like grants, we can provide support before and during application. And sometimes if the funder requests information after submission, but before the funding decision is made, we can also provide support for those instances, and that's what's called like a just-in-time request. Usually, it's NIH does that. So what specific services would that entail? Well, we can work with you to help you like locate and evaluate like different funding opportunities and determine whether it's something that like really fits with what your specific project idea is, and help you determine how competitive ATSU might be. Some funders like prefer we could spend like a really long time talking about different funder considerations, but ATSU is a small like private health sciences institution that's focused on education and training. And some funders prefer to make awards to like large research focused institutions. So those are considerations that we can help you to think through. We can also help you, like if you have a general like project idea, we can help you refine your goals and activities for your project and align them with what the funder is looking for, or what a particular funding opportunity is targeting. So, grant guidelines can be admittedly very dense and boring sometimes, but we can help you read and interpret and make sure that you're following all the rules and crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's. We are all detail oriented, and we can save you that. We can do all that fun stuff for you. Like I said, we also document administrative leadership support. An important thing we can do for your grant applications is provide quality assurance. So as part of like the institutional review process, we do a mandatory like quality assurance review of both your budget and your complete application. And this is where we go through every single word, every single line, and like make line edits, and also provide feedback before your application is submitted. Of course, like you always have the option, we recognize, we understand that it's your baby, your application. These are suggestions that we provide to help you submit the best possible application. And of course, we can help you submit your proposals in the different like electronic submission application platforms. If you receive like feedback from reviewers, we can help you go through those and determine how best to address reviewer feedback to resubmit your grant application to like the same funder or different funders. And I wanted to stress this last point of like consulting on grant seeking strategy. So we don't want, you know, a lot of times we have people, faculty coming to us with just like, oh, like, you know, this seems like an interesting funding opportunity. Like I would like to apply for it. But one of the things we can do for you is to help you plan your grant application strategically. And that's really important, you know, like if especially if you're a newer faculty member, new to research, new to ATSU, we can work with you to figure out, you know, like what types of funding you can start with to build up, you know, your publication record, get, you know, grant awards on your CV, so that you can become competitive for larger grant proposals, you know, mid-career, later in your career. And that's really important. And I don't think enough people make use of that side of what we can, like that side of our services. Yeah. So I'm gonna hand this off to Amber to talk about our team.
Thank you, Lucy. Actually, what you were just talking about, that's one of my favorite parts, right? I like to strategize and I like to say, okay, all right, how are we going to go about? Let's dream big and we want to go for a really big grant. But before we do that, here's some steps that maybe we should tackle. So once we get to applying to that big one, we are ready, right? Like we are ready to knock their socks off. So this slide, it's really nice, I think, to put faces with names, right? So you might be looking at some of these names and being like, I've seen that name before. Hopefully it's a good way, right? But our whole team, you know, we have proposal development specialists that are excellent at working with you start to finish on getting that grant proposal or submission ready. And then obviously we have the rest of our team with Julie, myself, Terry, and obviously Lucy, and Catherine, we're all here to help you start to finish, get that application out the door and make sure it's tip top, best quality best foot forward so that hopefully we can get that funding and you can do your awesome project. Um, but it isn't all just pre-award team, right? I mean, on the next slide, I'm going to start leading you down to that exciting path, right? You've worked with a pre-award team, you've gotten that notification, you got funded, right? Congratulations. I mean, that's one of the most exciting feelings, right? Like something, it feels awesome to say you got funded. Your submission was accepted for funding. So once that happens, then what? Well, sponsor programs is still there to help you, right? Because we're here start to finish. So on the next slide, let's go ahead and talk about grants administration, right? Uh, what is grants administration team? What can they help you with? So you've got the funding. Okay, well, we got to make sure we got all our ducks in a row, right? So when it comes to going through all of the legal terms and all of that, grants administration, they're the ones that are going to help you go through that so that you don't have to worry about it, right? Something that you'll see in common with all of our teams in SP is that we're trying to help protect you as well as ATSU, right? So everything that we do, we've got your best interests at heart. So legality, finances, making sure the account gets set up so that you can get going, start spending on your grant, making sure compliance is all up to par, right? For everything from risk to fiscal issues, and just making sure overall that you get set up as quickly and the best way possible, right? Because obviously you're excited to get started. So who are the people on this grants administration team? Ta-da! Right? All right. So grants administration team, very, very helpful people. Hopefully, maybe you recognize some of their names as well. Marcia Joyce is the director. She has a team of 3 other individuals that are there to help you. Everything from analysts, to helping out with the grants administration side. And honestly, if you need any help, you've got that funding, they are your go-to then, right? Pre-award will help hand your awarded, right, opportunity now to grants administration so that they can help you through the process. Um, but wait, there is more, right? Right? So besides grants administration, Lucy is going to share with you kind of the next step and who you're going to work with besides pre-award and grants administration. Lucy, take her away.
Thanks, Amber. So, now that you applied and then been awarded funding and your contract has gone through all the, legal and financial reviews, you're ready to start your project. Okay. And the post-award management team is like the team and sponsor programs to work with you during the course of your grant. So what can they do for you? They can help you like monitor spending and progress. And that entails like, they can provide support with like preparing and submitting, those, um, progress reports that are typically required at like monthly or like quarterly or yearly intervals. They can help you, with project startup and like help you staff your project. So like working with HR to post the job descriptions, the job postings, and hire staff for your project. They can also review your expenditures every month to make sure that they comply with the funder and HSU policies. But also most importantly, because, like during the course of like working on your project, you're going to be communicating a lot with the funder and with your partners if you have them. Post award can help facilitate those communications for you. And here is a slide showing the post award team. Post award is led by Nora El Haddad. She is wonderful. She's based so she and I are based in the Mesa campus, but we've moved to like work remotely, but we're always available. And she leads a team of like 4 other individuals who can work with you to help manage your grant award. Okay, so that was just like a brief overview of the 3 different branches of sponsor programs. And because like Amber and I are on the pre-award team, we wanted to talk with you a little bit about like, how do you work with us? Here are just, a couple of best practices that we came together, like put on the page for you because like we want, like Amber said, we want you to have the best possible experience not working with us, but also the best possible results when you submit your applications. Okay. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is to plan ahead and contact us as soon as you are aware that you would like to apply for a funding opportunity. So alerting, like pulling us in early for proposal development allows us to like help you through all that internal review and like all that good stuff of like interpreting the guidance and like usually we would like if we had enough time we could like do several rounds of like feedback so contacting us and like pulling us in as early as you can in your proposal development it would help you like to strengthen your proposal and also like avoid some of the last minute headaches that can come with like starting too soon, too close to the deadline. And in terms of like, optimizing your grant grant writing and submission experience. Like having your itemized budget and justification pulled together. Of course, we can, like, if you're new to like grant writing, SP is here to help you develop that itemized budget and justification. But just having an idea of like not only what your project goals are, but also like who you would like to staff your project. Like who are those essential people and what would each of them do on your project? And how much time would they need to commit to the project for you to successfully complete your project? For like particular budget line items, especially if they're like equipment items or supply. We do, for the budget, the internal budget review, we do ask that you include information about like the cost per item and quantity, and supply quotes that show like the expenses in the budget. But like these are just, we wanted to give you an idea of like the sort of like the level of detail that of information we would need from you for the budget review, but we can work with you to get all this information. Like, don't worry if you have no idea how to get a quote or something. We can help you with all these things. Also, if you know that you're going to be active in applying to grants, like it's always a good idea to keep your biosketch updated, with your current publications, presentations, and good things like that. Okay. And then this is a big one. So I think like, a lot of times it's really, really easy, if you're busy like teaching, to, start writing a grant application like really close to the deadline. I've done it, Amber's done it, maybe not. Amber's the planner. But like we're all can be guilty of this. But like it doesn't result in like the best possible application because like, it just doesn't give you enough time to like give your ideas, the thought and care and like that it deserves. And so a good rule of thumb is to aim to have like your application fully draft out at least a week before the deadline, and that's cutting it close. So I guess the main takeaway from this is that start as early as you can, and pull us in as early as you can.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, Lucy. Okay, we're talking about this whole process, right? About how do I work with pre-award and I have to plan ahead and I have to contact. But going forward, how do I assess the fit of funding opportunities? Don't I have to find a funding opportunity first? Probably, right? So I guess on this next slide, we go ahead a little bit. How do you assess the fit of a funding opportunity? Gosh, that can take a lot of time to go through multiple pages of guidelines and who is a good fit, what kind of projects are they looking for? Um, gosh, even looking at maybe who got funded in the last funding cycle, right? So on the next slide, I want to introduce something, and maybe it's not an introduction to some of you, but it might be. Anyone heard of those secret sauce of sponsored programs? We've got that secret sauce. Anyone know that secret sauce? Oh, shh. Don't go telling. But on this next slide, Lucy's going to pull up our FOR form. Ta-da! I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. I hope you have, but this is ATSU SP's secret sauce. I have never seen these until I came to ATSU and started working in sponsored programs. And yeah, we got a shout out even in the chat. That's right. So these FORs, what do? Let us do some of that heavy lifting for you, right? You've got a busy schedule. You've got lots of things you got to do. We're here to help. Let us go through that funding opportunity and pull out all the important information, right? What is it the funder's looking for? That research idea you have, it's really great, but is it the right one for this opportunity, right? Let's make sure that if we're going to put our eggs into a basket, that the basket's nice and sturdy, right? So what we can also provide a recommendation for you of like, yeah, this fits, this looks like it's a good opportunity. Or maybe we need to learn a little bit more first. And, Lucy was talking about the time and effort, right? We're going to be upfront and we're going to say, hey, to put this application together and be competitive, you're probably going to need, X amount of time. Okay. And if you're thinking, wow, I don't know if I could do that right now, maybe we catch it next cycle, right? One of the things that I think is super helpful as well, though, is having the grant making history, right? When I'm saying we dig deep, I'm saying we dig deep, right? We dig in there, we look at, what has this funder funded in the last, going back as far as we can, at least the last 5 years, right? And saying, what kind of projects they're looking for? What kind of institutions do they typically fund? What kind of edge can we give you if this is the right opportunity for you to apply to? So, yeah, if you haven't seen these FORs, please ask us about them. If you have funding opportunities you want us to look into, please reach out to pre-award. But anyways, there's a secret sauce. Shh, don't share. I mean, within ATSU, but otherwise, this is our secret sauce, right? All right, Lucy. So we got a great fit for a funding opportunity. SP found this great opportunity for me. I think on the next slide, you're going to start telling us what to do now.
Yeah, so like one of the hardest things is like trying to figure out, how do you start your grant application? Well, part of our process that we can work with you when we work with you is to develop like a writing outline. Here is like a screenshot of a writing outline template. So like it's a lot, I know, but it like the writing outline in the top, like we give you like, the funder name, like the grant program name and like the link. And then the section below that is like for information about your particular project, including like the project title, period, and your project personnel. Um, we've added like a little disclaimer about AI use in grant writing. I think that probably warrants further discussion at a later time, but I'm not gonna spend too much time on it right now. And then you see like that table in the middle. That's a timeline that includes all the important steps in the proposal development process, including all of the draft deadlines, budget, and full application review, with dates. And usually, we'll work with you to set dates that work for your schedule. And then of course, in the third column, we track, who is responsible for doing what. And I think that helps keep everyone on track. Just having specific people named and responsible for particular parts. Of course, sponsor programs it can help you with, some of the required components that are typical in applications, like, the facilities and resources document and NH applications. We can help you like polish your bio sketches, things like that. In the section below, we usually put the deadline, the application deadline, and then any notes about like particular formatting requirements required by the funder. Below that, where you see FCOI training, any other required training, institutional green light, and the internal budget spreadsheet. Well, those are all like you don't really need to worry about those except for like completing the training. Those are like just internal requirements that we keep track of. And then Below that is like where we list like the detailed information about all the required application elements. And this part looks different for each funder and grant opportunity.
Oh, Lucy and Amber, I just wanted to say we have about 3 minutes before the top of the hour.
Yep,
Okay.
you bet. We are totally on it because I believe this last question, okay, we've got a pretty good success rate. It's not perfect. Lucy, I don't think this exactly went as we planned, right, with Menti.
No.
So this is what I'm going to say. Okay, everyone, get your typing fingers ready. Please type in the chat the answer to this as quick as you can. The first one to type it in and hit chat or send or whatever it says, right? You will be the winner of the really cool ATSRI swag. Okay, we're all on the edge of our seats. Who will it be? Who will it be? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Anyone? No one?
Question, Amber?
Oh, yes. So the question, you found the perfect grant opportunity for your project. What's your next move? Is it A, email sponsored programs, stat? B, submit it quietly, hope for the best? Or C, write the whole grant at 2 a.m. Please don't do that, right? Okay, it sounds like contact SP. We've got a winner. Woo! All right. So we will work with ATSRI to make sure that our winner receives their cool ATSRI swag. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a couple more slides and then we promise we'll wrap it up quickly. All right, Lucy, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Amber, and congratulations, winner. So this is just a slide of like different resources that we can provide. So if you are interested in any of these, please contact pre-award. We'll also send copies with share copies with Dr. Jackson and Wendy for them to distribute with anyone who's interested. And we are going to end with that. And I don't believe we have time for like questions, but is there an option to like I would be happy to stay on a little bit longer if people have questions they'd like to like cover in person. Is that possible?
There were a couple questions in the chat. Perhaps we can address those.
Okay.
Yes, I have to go all the way back. Dr. Freeman had two questions. Dr. Progar and Dr. Tran, across ATSU, would you suggest there is a wide variety of research topics and interests, or are there research areas that are more prevalent than others? And there's a tail. Also, has SP been impacted with any negative way by the changes in federal policy during this calendar year?
I can take a stab at that. So we see research proposals like coming from all different corners of ATSU. Some programs and schools are a little bit more research active than others. Of course, like we only see research encapsulated in research grant applications, not like publications, which is another indicator of like research activity. But like we really do see like research from all different schools, like KCOM, ASHES, some of the ASHES programs, athletic training is very productive. So I wouldn't say that there are like any particular disciplines that are more prevalent than others, but research areas, they can follow trends in grant making. With the rise of AI, we're seeing a lot of funders offering opportunities to like research or test out like AI, and for medical for the medical field, there are a lot of like grant funding opportunities that look into like incorporating AI in teaching and training. And then second question, Dr. Freeman, has SB been impacted? So the department itself has not been, but you know, ATSU has had applications that have been withdrawn when funding programs have been been with just eliminated. We've had impacts on grants that have been funded with cessation of funding. So we are seeing, you know, effects due to that arise from like changes at the federal level, but not to the extent that some of the other universities that receive more research funding have seen. Does that answer your question?
Thank you for those replies, and I think it's very unfortunate that hardworking researchers have been impacted in this way. And I would think particularly if the FDA or HRSA, HHS are funders that where the applications have been withdrawn or previously approved requests have been interrupted. So I just it was a curious question, and you've answered it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
There was
Have
one other
another-
question. Yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Regarding the forms and where are they located? The FOR forms, are they located online?
No, so those are forms that we complete for you. So like, you know, just you would come to us if you have like you find anything that you want to apply for, and we can evaluate it, and that would be like the product of our evaluations.
Or sometimes, Lucy, we will also, there's certain ones that we keep track of on a routine basis too, that we're always tracking, that we're aware of faculty might be interested in. And so then we'll create an FOR on those as they become available.
Oh, I think I also understand maybe like the question meant like are they saved in a database somewhere? They're not. So to protect like sometimes like the projects they're you know they can contain like confidential or sensitive information about projects or project teams, and so we store them internally and share them with uh, like relevant like faculty and staff only to protect that information.
Well, we are 5 minutes over. Thank you, everyone, for staying put and for the wonderful presentation, Dr. Progar and Dr. Tran. So our next meeting is on November 5, and we'll have an external speaker. Please remember that we have recorded today's session. So if you have any questions, go back and look at the video. We will be uploading onto our YouTube channel soon. And we thank you to the incredible speakers today for sharing your insights and expertise. And a big thank you for all of you for joining us today and staying on for 5 more minutes to get all the inspiration and information we need to carry on with our work. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now.